What I've met is people with what I would call emotional health problems. And with emotional health, there's a story. Something's happened. And there's a whole constellation of emotions that need to be processed. A story that needs to be told. Shame, guilt, hurt, sadness, and more shame. Of course, there's a mental component, but I prefer the term emotional health. Coleridge, in his poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, says, "Until my ghastly tale is told, this heart within me burns." This heart, not this brain, this heart within me burns. I worked as a psychotherapist in London, and one of the jobs I had was working one day a week in a large, busy NHS hospital. It was a challenging environment because we had to see people in big wards, lovely wards, on corridors sometimes, and often we just see them for one session. One particular patient stands out. I call her Jane, not her real name. Jane was admitted with multiple injuries after a suicide attempt, a young girl of 25. She was in a secure room with a 24-hour guard. Her notes stated that she had psychotic features, emotional dysregulation, and had addiction problems, amongst other things. I felt quite nervous going down to this room. I'd never had this kind of case before. I asked the guard to wait outside. He did so reluctantly, and I pulled up a chair beside the bed where Jane sat. A pretty girl, but quite distressed looking. And around the wall of the bed was a lot of graffiti, gothic kind of monsters, insects, spiders. I was about to introduce myself and tell her why I was here and who I was, when she just launched into her story and told me she was a hermaphrodite and could change her sex at will. I didn't know what to do with this, but I just kept listening. Gradually, her story emerged. She had been abandoned at birth, never knew her mother, and lived her life in institutions where she had been abused physically, emotionally, and sexually. Not surprisingly, by her mid-teens, she got into drink and drugs and had various unhealthy relationships with both men and women. After about half an hour of constant talking, she suddenly stopped and looked at me straight in the eyes. And she said, "What can you do for me anyway?" I was quite taken aback. I had been quite upset by her story. It was absolutely terrible. And I just spoke from the heart, looked her in the eyes, and said to her, "You know, Jane, you've had a terrible life. And you're right, there's probably not much I can do for you. All I can do is just be here with you and listen to you as best I can." And for a moment, we connected. Beyond any psychosis or diagnosis, there was a moment of connection. Two people. And then suddenly the moment passed and she went back into her story. By the end, I felt an overwhelming sadness as I left the room, leaving her there alone in her loveless hell. I wondered what would become of her, what I had done for her. The next week when I came back to work again, I was surprised that she was still there and not moved on to a specialist facility. So I was told to go down and see her again. I went down, the guard waited outside. I was surprised when she said, "Hello, Seán." Surprised she knew my name. I hadn't thought I hadn't had a chance to introduce myself to her. I was further surprised when she said, "I have a present for you." And she had a little drawing. And the drawing was of a crouched figure in a fetal position, sitting alone on the floor of the corner of the room, face covered. And it was titled Solitude. That was Jane's diagnosis. the utter heartbreak that we can all identify with. The Chinese word for mind is Xin, which also means heart. Heart, mind, mind, heart. And the Chinese character is like a little heart with 3 dots, with 3 arteries and veins. So my resolution for 2015 is every time I hear mental health, to translate it, to do a Chinese translation, and think of it as emotional health. To remind me that the heart of the matter